In León, we stayed in Hostel El Jardín near the centre. It was very, very basic. And even though we'd arrived after a 12-hour journey, we headed straight out to join a walking tour of the city. The first stop was the local market, where we tried the sapodilla fruit, which tastes a little bit like a date, really nice. We then had a wander around the square and the cathedral and learned about the history of the city, followed by a climb up onto the roof to watch the sunset. The cathedral was built in the shape of a giant cross, and the roof terrace was designed to impress the King of Spain, who was a huge fan of chess at the time, so the individual spires represent different chess pieces.
After the tour, we just had some food and then went back to the hotel. The next day we got up, had a little wander through town before having some lunch, which was basically beef and potatoes, and it was banging. And then we headed out on the day trip to another volcano. This one was called Cerro Negro, another active volcano, and only 728 metres above sea level, so it only took about 45 minutes to get to the top. And if you dug down in the sand a little bit, you could even feel the heat. If you look there, you can see the steam coming off it. And then if you look to the side of us, there was an active eruption happening.
For anyone who knows Beth, she's not a fan of heights, and today's descent was via a sledge, on what would probably be a black run for skiing, so we both took a very different approach to the descent. And after a dinner of a watermelon and an egg sandwich, we sat to watch the sunset.
It turns out on the way back, the bus turns into a party bus with unlimited rum and coke. And because I was still on the antibiotics, Jack drank for two. It took about half a sip for Jack's vest to fall off.
I know what the people want.
And then there was some sort of homoerotic scene all the way back. No women anywhere, just lots of sweaty men with the tops off. You can take the man out of the navy. What should have been a 20-minute journey back ended up lasting an hour and a half, but felt like about 5 hours. After an eventful night, we were woken up by the hotel staff, who started fumigating the rooms while we were still in bed.
The tranquil sounds of the machine were not ideal for my current state. And the smoky aftermath didn't disperse for about an hour. After heroically dealing with a large cockroach in the room, the insect sent out a call to his local wasp mate, who stung me in the neck at a local restaurant. Day 46 started with a walk down to the bus station. As always, the directions weren't fantastic, and we got stuck in this local marketplace, which was a labyrinth of people selling everything from plumbing supplies to fruit and vegetables. The bus ride was hot and stuffy, and took about an hour and a half to take us from León to Managua, the capital. At which point we dropped our bags in the hotel, which was Villa Lobos, another incredibly basic hotel, but it did the job.
We'd heard from a few people that Managua wasn't worth visiting and to just skip it, and also it's apparently quite dangerous. Even locals from other cities don't go there. But hey, we thought we'd see the sights anyway. So here's two knackered flags.
And this is a viewpoint of the large lagoon in the centre of the city, which also came with some high-tech workout equipment. We then took a stroll through the city's small arboretum and walked through Plaza de Revolución, which, although containing the palace and the cathedral, we were the only people there. On the back of the plaza stood multiple memorials dedicated to musicians, revolutionaries, and presidents of the country. And yet again, we were the only people there.
We then got a taxi back to avoid getting mugged in the dark. By this point we'd completed Managua, so we spent the whole day at a local pool while I chilled and Jack did work. The next day we wasted no time getting up and out early on another public bus going from Managua to Granada. Again, this one taking about an hour and a half. We stayed in Hotel El Alcadenoe, which actually seemed quite nice, and it had this outdoor gardeny bit with hammocks, plenty of space to chill. We only had enough time for a quick lunch, so just got tzatziki and hummus with pita bread to share at this little Mediterranean restaurant we found, which weirdly had maracas in the toilet. And then we were straight back out for a guided walking tour of Granada.
Starting with one of the oldest churches in Central America, San Francisco de Asís, where we learned about old-timey wall construction and almost trod on these floorboards, which was a priest's grave. After an ongoing discussion about pillar construction, which Beth found riveting, we went to Church Halterva, a pressure washer's dream, and climbed the incredibly small stairs for a view over the city of Granada, where many of the houses have a central garden, which prevented the adobe bricks from which they were built from drying out too quickly. 5 o'clock then started the call to mass, which was incredibly peaceful and soothing. Then we headed out of the church and went to the main square, where Nicaragua's answer to Louis Spence was shaking what his mother gave him.
And as a wise woman once said, the hips don't lie.
And the evening finished in celebration, with Beth finally finishing her course of antibiotics.
The next morning, Jack really wanted to go to the train museum, but it seems nowhere in Central America follows their opening hours, so we admired the trains from outside the fence.
The trains used to be called chacoyas, as they were usually red and green like parakeets. After a trip to the local park to take some photos of Nicaragua's national flower, we stopped into one of the famous cigar factories, which is one of Nicaragua's largest exports. All the cigars were handmade, glued using natural materials and dried in the sun, then squashed down to make sure they were the right shape.
We then went for a coffee at Café de las Sonrisas, which is the first cafe in Central America managed entirely by deaf people, and you have to order using sign language. After another wander through the market, Jack had a banana burger for lunch, which is meant to be like a normal burger, but instead of a bread bun, it's 2 pieces of plantain. And it was a great spot for people watching. Then we headed back to the accommodation, where we caught up with some friends and family. Shout out to Emma and Poppy for their fantastic video. That evening we went back out and back to the Mediterranean restaurant, where we both had a shawarma, and it was probably the best feed we'd had in weeks. We'd seen that the hotel was advertising for this mentalist night, so obviously we booked tickets, and it was absolute madness. This guy was a full-blown, legit mind reader, and didn't miss a beat for the entire show. He got Jack to think of any number, and of course he thought of 8008 because it looks like the word boob, which is hilarious. He said he knew Jack's number, but had written down this 5-digit number, which reads 56,821, and then told a girl in the audience to open the book of pi to 50,000 decimal places and go to page 56, line 8, and from the 21st number along, read the 4-digit number.
Is it an 8?
It is an 8.
Oh, 8.
8.
And then afterwards we even got a tarot card reading, because I now trusted this man with anything he said. The next morning we headed to the bus station, where we got another public bus to Rivas, then switched in Rivas to go to San Juan before taking a ferry to Ometepe Island. The whole journey was pretty manic and very sweaty, and it took about 7 hours, but we'd travelled through a good chunk of Nicaragua and were ready to see what the rest had to offer.
I'll see thee.